Hi guys, today I am making a cookie called duck's feet, in Russian Гусиные лапки. I know they might not look exactly like duck's feet, and some of them might not be perfect, but they all equally delicious because they have the most important ingredient in them, which is farmer cheese. In Russia we call it tvorog, and they're just very delicate cookies with a very unique taste. For this recipe you will need 450 grams of farmer cheese, which you can find in any of the European supermarkets, 2 sticks of butter, 450 grams of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a half a cup of granulated sugar. We're gonna start by measuring out our flour, and I'm using the kitchen scales, but 450 grams is approximately 3 cups of flour. I'm gonna put just a little bit less because it's always easy to add more flour later than add too much. So just add a little bit over 400 grams, and to that amount we're gonna add our 1 teaspoon of baking powder and half a teaspoon of baking soda. Sift flour into a larger mixing bowl, and you can skip that process, but I like sifting the flour because it adds more air, therefore our cookies are gonna come out much lighter. Now to the flour we're gonna add all our butter, which is 2 sticks of butter. And you need to take butter right out of the fridge. It has to be cold. Back in the days my grandmother would use a cheese grater to grate the butter, but who needs that when we have this fancy schmancy tool, I think it's called a pastry cutter, to cut the butter, and then you could just move on to your hands. And make sure that the little butter pieces are no bigger than a pea size. Put your farmer cheese in a separate container, and we need to mash it a little bit, and I'm just using a potato masher. Then combine your cheese with the flour and the butter mixture, and we're gonna use just the spatula to sort of mix things together. And when it all comes a little bit together, we're just gonna dump it out on the surface on a table, and I'm using that silicone mat, and we're gonna form it into a loaf. And try to work really fast so the little pieces of butter do not melt, otherwise our cookies are gonna come out tough. Cover your dough with a plastic wrap, and we're gonna put this baby to sleep in refrigerator for at least 30 minutes or in the freezer for 5 minutes. We're going to get our station ready to form the cookies, and we're gonna need the rolling pin, a little bit of flour, we're gonna need a baking sheet, and I sprayed it with a non-stick cooking spray, and we're gonna need a plate with sugar. Take your dough out of the fridge, and as you can see it's nice and firm now. We're gonna cut it in half because it would be just easier to work with halves, and we're gonna dust the table with a little bit of flour, and we're gonna form that dough into a ball so it would be easier for us to roll it out. And we're gonna roll this dough out to about 1/4 of an inch thick, and try not to use a lot of flour because we still want this dough to be a little bit sticky so the sugar will stick to it. When you reach the desired thickness of the dough, we're gonna cut circles, and I'm using a 3-inch dough cutter, but you could just use a glass or a cup to cut the little circles. And remember, we're gonna fold them twice, so they need to be not less than 3 inches in diameter. Put all your scraps aside because we're gonna use them later. Now we're gonna use some sugar to dip our cookies, and I'm using the raw sugar. You're gonna press your circles into sugar, fold it, then press it into sugar again, then fold it again and press it into sugar. And we're gonna use a knife that was dipped in a flour to make little duck's feet. So I'm gonna show it to you again. Just press it firmly into a sugar, fold it, press it into sugar again, then fold it, then press it into sugar, and then make duck's feet. And this is what they're gonna look like. You need to preheat your oven ahead of time to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake your cookies in preheated oven for at least 20 minutes or until they're golden brown. And here they come, beautiful duck's feet cookies. Very soft and delicious with a crispy sugar on top. I think you guys gonna like them. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon.